Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am here to share my experience on the EV conference to tell you what is my experience in a decade on electric mobility in India. While all of us know that there is a tectonic shift happening on auto industry across the globe. This tectonic shift is being led by electric mobility as of today. We all know that clean, connected, convenient way of mobility have been shaking up the auto industry for the last decade. India is not far behind. India is catching up, and in fact, some of the areas leading in electric mobility across the globe. Electric vehicle adoptions, particularly in the last decade, have been taking off not only in Europe, China, US, but also in India. The electric mobility is the bus of the town in mobility. There are a lot of innovations happening on technology which is shaping up the electric mobility and making it economically viable across the globe and across the segment. I would like to take a different view on India when it comes to mobility. Unlike Western world of Europe, US, and other countries, India is not driven by cars. Most of the mobility in India are done by multimodal transport. If you look at India, almost 85% of the vehicles sold is on two-wheeler. Then we have first and last mile connectivity vehicles like three-wheeler. Large number of buses yet to adoption is yet to take place. And you have personal cars and fleet cars. So India is mobility needs of the Indian is not met by just cars adoption like West. So how do we approach India? So the mobility for a 1.3 billion people is going to be different than how the mobility have been moving in the past century in the West. So what does India do? India has three big challenges. India has a very serious oil import bill. We almost import more than 80% of the oil or energy demand. We have more than $100 billion of oil import bill, which is actually having a forex challenges. And we have 14 out of 20 cities which are highly polluted. All the three can be addressed by a very unique model of energy as well as mobility. If you look at India, India has taken lead in signing the Paris Agreement in 2015, along with 190 countries. In fact, after the Paris Agreement, India took a lead and formed a Swaral Alliance in 2015. More than 120 countries are now part of the Solar Alliance. In the recent COP26 in Glasgow, the Indian Prime Minister have already announced that we are going to be net zero country by 2070. It means a lot. It really means a lot for the steps which is being taken as a country, industry in the country, and many others. We as Switch Mobility, very proud to say we have already committed to net zero. So we are going to add up and help not only India, but globally, all the businesses to get into net zero. If energy is getting into a transition to net zero, and India will play a vital role in this energy transition. You would have already heard a lot of news about hydrogen. Green hydrogen is going to be the future and meets most of the industrial energy needs. I believe EV is going to play a vital role in mobility for a long time and in multimodal transport. India needs a transformative mobility solutions. If you look at Niti Aayog's work in 2017, which I was part of, it clearly defines by 2030, India has to change to new mobility solutions. Government of India have already announced FAME scheme, both 1 and 2, which is already enabling adoption of electric mobility in a large way. The mobility sector's disruption in the last decade have been the most significant one in the whole century. So what we need to do as a country, if we have to provide mobility for a billion plus people, and how do we meet the urbanization demand racing out of progressing India? I think that's a very big challenge. If you ask me, we'll have to build a multimodal transport and it has to be derived based on city in which we operate. Most of the big cities needs a multimodal transport. We need mass movement transport system with metros and buses. If you look at buses adoption in India, it's in a very low state. It's about zero point 0.2 buses per thousand people, which is supposed to go to 1 per thousand people. We need to work on this transition with a sustainable way. I believe electric mobility is a very viable solution for any city buses. And that's where we have to reduce the pollution as well. If you look at the recent tenders, which is in a cross contract model, it's a win-win for STUs, it's a win-win for industry and also to the consumers. The price of the bus per ticket remains the same. State transport units need not invest a huge money for buying the buses, and industry is investing and collecting for a long period of 10 years. I think we are inventing not just in technology of the buses, but also new business models. These models are going to create the future of mobility in the cities. If you look at adoption in buses, particularly, the STUs have the state transport units have moved substantially from regular diesel and CNG buses to electric. As we speak, more than 6,000 buses tenders are open. And the adoption is more than 50% even in a COVID year, particularly if you look at STUs last year. So there is a tectonic shift happening in the mobility. Buses doesn't lack in any way else on electric adoption, which is a very, very surprise move, which we never thought in the last 5 years. While the adoption in buses is still low, at about 6% this year, last year, it has to go a long way. We believe that it's going to take close to 30% by 2025 and beyond, particularly in the city adoption buses. If you look at adoption in electric mobility in India, two-wheelers are about 80% by volume. Two-wheelers also consume close to 50% of fuel for mobility. The two-wheeler adoption is less than 1% today. But in 2022 till now, I think after the FAME 2 have been changed, we are seeing a rapid adoption in two-wheeler segment. It will reach double-digit figure very soon. Three-wheeler, which I was part of to launch the India's first three-wheeler platform, Mahindra Trio. It has taken a substantial move in last 3 years. Three-wheelers almost have done an adoption more than 30%. Passenger cars, four-wheelers is set to take off. You all know that it's around 0.5% adoption even today, but there is a very promising shift happening in personal segment when the infrastructure builds up. Charging infrastructure is one of the important key parameters which all of us need to address. While I said that, it's not a problem which is very difficult to address. Look at buses. Buses have a captive depots which can be electrified and charging units can be installed very easily. Two-wheelers and three-wheelers, most of them, almost more than 80% of them are being charged at home. However, they need to be supported by public infrastructure of charging. Government of India, along with oil sectors, have already announced more than 22,000 charging points to be developed in coming year. That is a very substantial move. That's going to help passenger cars, two-wheelers and three-wheelers in a large way. I believe India has taken a lead in, in sustainable energy as well as mobility, which we have not seen for many years. India have been lagging on technology adoption when compared to the world, at least by 5 to 10 years in mobility for the past century. I believe this is the only chance India is going to play a level playing field on technology as well as adoption in electric mobility. The electric motors, the battery technology, many other power electronics, and everything controlled by software makes it very, very viable for the Indian ecosystem, particularly the automobile ecosystem, closely to work with IT, infrastructure, and knowledge base in India to create innovation and products around electric mobility. I strongly believe the future of mobility for the next decade will be led by electric. While we will see multi other technologies playing in, the commercialization will be the most important, which will happen in this decade through electric mobility, whether it is two-wheelers, three-wheelers, passenger cars, or buses. It's going to be a game changer for all of us. I strongly believe young minds, young generation, which is coming out of the college, are looking at something which is fresh, which they will create an impact for the future. Have a very high chance to embrace these technologies and work on new technologies like EV. Many universities have already come up with electric curriculum. Many of them are looking for having a very specific skill development around software and electric mobility ecosystems. All of that, along with the drive from Government of India, investment by industry, and the training by academia is going to create an impact on the ecosystem of electric mobility. Through this conference, I believe the innovative minds are going to come and discuss and share their knowledge over a period of 3 to 4 days, and also demonstrating the technologies in the expo is going to build up the knowledge base ecosystem in India. India, I believe, is in a very different stage on EV adoption when compared to mobility adoption at least 70 years back. The good part is Government of India, industry, and the consumers and the whole ecosystem, including state governments, are working very, very closely to make EV a win-win for the industry, for the consumers, for the government, and also for the environment. I have never seen in my life such a cohesive work between various agencies, including industry, where everybody is having one common task of net zero. The journey has just started. It's going to take a lot of efforts. It's going to take innovative ideas. We are going to create most of the solutions when we run along this journey. Please join me and many others who have taken lead in taking a leapfrog jump in electric technology and making it commercially viable in the country and making a role model across the globe. All the best and best wishes to all of you, and thank you.